It's Erica Dawn, and thank you for tuning in to the Erica Dawn Voices Podcast Network. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the VO Ventures Podcast with Erica Dawn. I am Erica Dawn. Let's go ahead and jump into the topic of how much does this all cost? Okay, so last week's episode, we talked about, do you need a coach? So, of course, coaching and training is going to be one of those things on the list that you will need to actually pay for. A couple other things that you want to keep in mind that you will need to pay for are maybe some events that you may want to attend that can help with networking, which again is a part of marketing that we will definitely get into a little later. But if you want to go to conferences, there's a conference going on. If depending on when this drops, it may be going on right now here in Atlanta, that is specifically dedicated to voiceover, right? So you may want to invest and attend some of those workshops or some of those conferences to be able to gain more knowledge and insight in the business. Equipment, we'll talk about that. Studio time, demo production, which next week I'm going to do a super dive into demos. Okay. But we'll touch on it a little bit here about what it could possibly cost you to do so. And then we're also going to just touch on promotion and advertising, which again goes part of the marketing piece. But we will talk about how you're going to have to spend some money there. Okay. So let's first start with coaching and training. We won't go too far into it because, like I said, last week's episode definitely did. If you did not check out that episode, you still can. Just go back to episode number 2 and you will be able to hear me talk all things coaching and training. All right. So, like I said on that podcast, you should be looking at this as a business. Okay. You should be going into it as I'm starting a voice acting company, right? And with your company, you are going to have to put up some money up front, capital, I guess you could say, right? It's with any business. You're going to have at least a little pot that you can use to go towards your business. You can also think of it as any opportunities that you get, maybe for the first 6 months or so, go back into your business. So if you do happen to get paid for a gig, put that money back into the business, right? Maybe you put yourself out there and do an ad for a company and maybe they pay you $100 to do it. Take that $100 and go pay for a lesson, right? Put it back into your business until you feel like you're at a comfortable spot where you don't have to. But it will cost you in order to be successful in this business. So that is my advice on that. I am not a financial expert. I am not an accountant or any of that. So I can't give you advice on any of that type of stuff. But just, from me to you, that is how I would look at it. Pour back into your business if you don't have it up front. I talk a lot about on my workshops about when it comes to cost, it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary. It could be your time. So if you do not have the money per se to put up to purchase certain things or to invest in coaching and training, maybe you got to go to YouTube University to find out how to do some things. And that could be from building a website to using Canva to create ads or to learning how to record and edit. All of those things that you may not be able to pay for right now, you can at least get a little bit of information from online, right? So take that time to do that and learn those tools and learn those skills if you don't have the money to pay somebody to help you do it. Okay. So that's all I'll touch on with coaching and training. When it comes to, let's talk about equipment. So here's the thing. And I'm speaking from experience because I did this myself. When I first decided that I wanted to become a voice actor, I went online and I purchased a ton of equipment that was all wrong and I had no idea how to use any of it. And it collected dust. And all of that money that I poured into that equipment went down the toilet. Okay. I don't want that to happen to you. So before you begin with equipment, software, any of that, I'm going to need you to get with a coach and determine if you're ready to even start recording. You're probably not. Me just being real. Get with a coach, maybe one lesson will unlock the answer to whether or not you are ready to start recording. Okay. There is a huge learning curve and skill that comes with being a voice actor. You have to be able to deliver voice recordings for various genres of VO, and they have to be of quality. And I'm not saying audio quality, I'm saying the delivery and style that you are producing with your voice. Okay. Your voice is an instrument, and you can't walk into a symphony and just play an instrument that you've never played before. Okay. You've got to get some training, you've got to be taught how to play the notes of the instrument. It's the same with voice acting. All right. So before you go and invest in really expensive equipment, make sure that your voice is ready and prepared to even start recording. Now, when you are ready to start recording, also don't go out there trying to keep up with the Joneses and buying expensive equipment that you don't know how to use and that you don't necessarily need right now because you're not getting paid the gigs that can help you afford to pay for those microphones. You're going to hear a lot about, people who hate USB mics. One that I always recommend to people is Fifine, Fifine. It is a mic that is really great to use. I will leave it linked in the show notes for you guys, but it is really easy to use. It is of good quality as well. As I mentioned on episode 1, I am also an instructional designer. So at work, I am constantly doing a lot of e-learning narration for online courses through a university that I work at. So I use a Fifine mic there. I also have Fifine mics available in our department for faculty to check out if they decide that they want to do a voiceover or a voiceover PowerPoint. I always recommend using an external microphone. So to keep things simple, we ordered Fifine mics and they work tremendously. So you too could start with a Fifine mic and upgrade later when it's time to upgrade. But I'm not saying stay there. You don't want to stay in that spot. You don't want to stay with the Yeti. You don't want to stay with the Fifine, but you can upgrade as you go. Okay. So that is that. Now, when it comes to other equipment and software, you can use free programs like Audacity to record on. I use Audacity still. I also use Adobe Audition, which costs money, but you can pay for it monthly or you could pay for it for the year. It's through Adobe. And there is, again, a learning curve with that. And in my tech course, I show you how to use Audacity and Adobe Audition when recording and editing. But both of those are available for you to use. One doesn't cost anything, one can cost you a little bit per month. There's other software programs out there too that you can use, but those are the two main ones that I would say as far as getting a start that you will want to start learning some technique around them. And one key thing I want you to keep in mind when I'm talking about equipment and software is that you are not an audio engineer. Maybe you are, but most of us are not. You are a voice actor. You are the voice talent. All right. So just keep that in mind along the way that you don't need to feel the pressures of being an audio engineer. As a freelancer, you do need to know some basics of editing and recording. Absolutely. But again, take some money and invest the time to actually either go to a studio or have an engineer help you along the way to make sure that your setups are proper and that you are ready to go. If you're doing audiobook narration through a company like ACX, then yeah, you are acting as the producer, the narrator, and the engineer because you've got to do all the editing and everything with the audiobooks that you produce through ACX. But still, you may not know all of the ins and outs of audio editing. So get yourself set up. Like on there, they have you do like a test before they even allow you to submit a full script. So they'll be able to test to make sure all your levels and everything are correct. But maybe you need to get with an engineer first to have them go over all of that with you to make sure that it is properly set up before you spend too much time getting into recording beforehand. All right. Speaking of studio time. Again, if you do not know what you're doing, it's okay. Go to a studio. There's local studios everywhere. Find a recording studio. Ask the recording studio if they have engineers there that have experience with voiceover and or narration. There's a lot of times when engineers are used to doing music. That's what they know. That's all they know. And they may not be able to help you in your voice acting productions. So make sure that when you are shopping for a studio that you are asking those questions. Do you have engineers that have experience with voiceover and audiobook narration or e-learning narration, whatever it may be that you need recorded? All right. Your demo. Again, we're going to talk more about demos next week, but I just want to tap on it and touch on it a little bit. Demo production, you need to spend money to have your demo professionally produced. Period, point blank. Now, you may do some things on your own, a few things on your own that you can DIY, but when it comes to the post editing of it, it needs to be professionally done. Period. And that's all I'll say on that for right now. Tune in next week where I will be talking all things demos. All right. So let's talk promotion and advertising. Again, we're going to take a deeper dive into this later when I talk about marketing your business. But this is also an area that you have to consider and think about when you are starting your voice acting business. How are you going to promote yourself? No one's going to come knocking on your door asking you if you're a voice actor. You have to let people know what it is that you do. You have to promote your services. All right. Especially if you don't have an agent. And your agent's job is to find the work for you or find auditions for you, because you still have to audition. Just because you have an agent doesn't mean you don't have to audition unless you're offer only. Now, I will say for me with audiobook narration, for a particular publisher, I am offer only right now. So that can happen. However, I had to audition first to even get there. So again, if you are freelancing, you've got to put yourself out there and let people know what it is that you do. Get on all the platforms, get on all the pay to play, do all of that so that you can, get yourself out there. But you may not know how to make an ad. You may not know how to create an ad. You may have to hire someone to do that. So it's going to cost you some money. Or it could cost you a little bit of time so that you can go to YouTube University, find out how to use these tools, and create the ads yourself. Okay. And let's talk about some of the things that don't cost. Okay. So we're talking about time. It could cost you your time, but as far as platforms for you to actually be able to advertise and tell people about what it is that you do, social media. I get on my students so much about their use or lack thereof of social media. There's no reason why, as an aspiring voice actor, you don't have a page set up specifically for your voice acting services. It doesn't cost you anything to set up a business page on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, right? Use those things to your advantage. There's even now with Reels on Instagram and TikTok where you can post Reels and press a button that says voiceover and actually narrate the content. There's no reason why, as an aspiring voice actor, you are not using these platforms that do not cost you any money. Okay. YouTube. YouTube is free, doesn't cost you anything. When you do have that demo professionally produced, create a video out of it and post it to YouTube and put it out there and share the link to people so that they can follow you. Maybe you want to start a vlog that shows your process through your voice acting career that can actually help you get clients. You never know, right? Virtual events such as my workshops that I host all the time, they're free. They don't cost anything, right? Come onto the workshops, learn about voice acting. A lot of the things that, if you're subscribed to this podcast, you're going to hear a lot of the same things because I do talk about all of these things on my workshops, but we also have fun where we actually do some interactive exercises where you actually get to come on and actually voice a script and I give you feedback and you are performing in front of the audience. So all of that happens on the workshop and it's free. Take advantage, right? And I already talked about pay to play sites, but sometimes those sites don't cost you anything. Sometimes they cost a membership fee, but a lot of times they don't cost anything. It costs nothing to get on Fiverr. It costs nothing to get on Upwork. I'm not going to go into my rant about those, and it's probably not what you think, but I'm not going to go into my rant about those just yet. I'll save those for later as well. Okay. So again, as I've been saying so far on every episode, is to start budgeting, start putting money aside for your career and for you to invest in your business. Do all the things. Okay. So definitely tune in to the next episode where again we're going to be talking about demos. The title of that episode is actually Can I Record My Own Demo? So basically DIY. All right, we're going to talk about all of that good stuff. So again, don't forget to check the show notes here so that you can get access to all of the links for courses, coaching, all of the good things. And I will see you all on episode 4 of the VO Ventures podcast. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.